Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, my fellow Chibits. Today, I'm here to bring all of you the weekly manga chapter review of Bleach. So, this episode leaves us off with a perfect setup for the dads to come in, for Ashita and Ichigo. Because they're both in very bad situations to where they're about to be defeated. Ichigo is currently screaming in despair, the end. And then Ashita, he's like, I can reflect damage, you can reflect damage, let's do a back and forth. Oh shit, I can't really fight. This would have been better if I would have fought up against Juha. So, overall, the entirety of this chapter was just Jugo and Juha shitting on Ashita and shitting on Ichigo. That's the entirety of the summary of the chapter. Seriously, that really is the best way to summarize the chapter. And I gotta be honest here, I'm gonna be just straight up with you, because I love you guys. I gotta be honest with you. I am personally not the biggest fan of this Jugo versus Ashita fight. I'm not. I'm really not. And let me explain. I will give you some reasons why. For one, when it comes to the fighting, it's not interesting, because majority of the fight has been off-paneled. Like, it really has. A lot of the fighting has been off-paneled, and I'm not a big fan of that. I've already discussed my issues with that. Majority of it is where we see, a quick glimpse of the fight, and we see Ashita on the ground all beaten and bloody, and then we cut back over to Ichigo, or cut back to another character, and then back to Ashita once again a couple chapters later. He's beat up even worse, and then that's about it. And there hasn't been much really going on in the fight. All we saw was an exchange of words, talking, and then saying, oh, I can reflect damage, you can reflect damage, everybody can reflect damage, and that's about the basics of that fight, like just Ashita versus Jugo. So, it's not a very interesting fight. I'm not a fan of it, because it's very bland, it's nothing spectacular, it's just two people with OP abilities going up against each other, and it's just about reflecting damage, and, like, I can negate all misfortune, and you can reflect all damage and put it back onto someone that you received, and I'm just like, okay, so it's a battle of endurance. That's the best way to put that out there, or say it. It's a battle of endurance between these two, and whoever doesn't get one shot first. Best way to put it. So, like I said, not a big fan of that fight. We're probably going to have it to where Rukin pops up to save Ashita from this fight and helps him out to overcome his opponent. But what was really interesting about that fight is that Bach is not really as threatening as he used to be, because apparently Ashita has an ability that can actually hurt Bach, because, he can reflect all damage back to Bach, and Bach can't really counter that at all, besides unless he takes the power back. So, pretty much, Ashita is a counter to Bach. Food for thought. Anyways, back on Ichigo. Ichigo, I don't know how to feel about the entirety of it, because he's getting his ass whooped. We already know his Bankai was shattered, which puts him in the spot. And he's just pretty much crying and upset and all that and despairing. And his entire face and eyes just explain everything. He's hopeless right now. Like, he doesn't know what to fucking do. And Orihime, she's on the ground, which I'm very sad. I'm very sad to see that, because, I mean, it's to be expected. Bach is destroying Ichigo, so Orihime obviously probably can't fight back. So, it makes a lot of sense. So, Orihime's down, Ichigo's down. There's not much to do. The only way that, possibly this can be saved is if, Ichigo's father pops in, saves his ass, maybe even Aizen comes in and helps him out too. That's the only way I can see anything going right at this moment. So I'm kind of upset a little bit, because a lot of the potential for Orihime was kind of casted outside of the door, and Ichigo as well, with his potential hype and build-up because of, his Bankai and stuff, it was thrown out the window as well, because, I mean, we were all expecting something very interesting, and it really didn't happen. But there is some hope, though, and I want to talk about this. So, Bach reveals that he is the reason Ichigo was able to succeed this far, why he was able to get to this very point, why he was able to overcome fate so many times. It was because of Bach. He wasn't there. Because Bach wasn't there, Ichigo was able to get to that very point in his life. And when he's like, now that I'm in your life, you can't do shit. You can't overcome that fate. So it's pretty funny. It's like Bach was saying, I'm Aizen. I'm the real Aizen. Aizen is not Aizen. I'm the real Aizen. I'm the one that manipulates your life. I'm the real father of you. I'm your father, Ichigo. I'm like, bro, okay, just stop. We have enough father issues with Ichigo as well, and now we don't need you complicating the matters once again. But joking aside, getting back into the real stuff that has potential to be pretty damn good, Bach is trying to take the abilities from Ichigo. He's trying to take back his Quincy abilities. And if I am correct, a while ago, it was confirmed that if a Quincy was to have, like, hollow abilities, or, you know, take, let's say, Ichigo's abilities away from him, they would get the hollow powers inside of them, which is, in fact, poison to Quincy's. hollow abilities or power is poison to Quincy's. So if Bach was to, let's say, try to yank out the Quincy abilities out of Ichigo, that would mean that he would be poisoned because the hollow's inside of him. And as we already know, it's already been once again repeated in recent chapters, Ichigo has kind of mixed with all of his inside abilities. For instance, he's mixed with his Shinigami, his hollow, and Quincy side. He's mixed them all together to be able to fight Bach. And so that means if you're trying to yank out the fucking Quincy, you're probably going to yank out the hollow as well, which is going to poison Bach. So let's just go on a limb here and say, let's just say Bach doesn't get poisoned for some reason. Let's just say the canon that was already established is rewritten and Bach doesn't get poisoned. Fine. Bach is fine. He doesn't get poisoned by the hollow. He completely takes out the Quincy abilities. He's not hurt. That would mean that the hollow abilities are unaffected by Quincy abilities once again. They're not being held back. That would mean that the hollow side of Ichigo can take control once again and completely take over, and we might see that crazy hollow form once again that we saw earlier on in Bleach that went up against, you know, one of our favorite villains of the series. So I can definitely see that probably being the case here. If Bach does take out his Quincy abilities, that would mean Ichigo would transform and probably be able to use his full hollow abilities. So that's my thoughts right there. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.